Hi, good afternoon, good evening. I mean, so today I'm doing a live on boredom, daydreaming, and the imagination. Um, these topics are very interesting to me, and it's topics that I'd like to explore tonight. So, when it comes to boredom, for myself growing up, boredom has a really bad reputation. People will be like, "Oh, um, an idle mind is a devil's playground," or "idle hands is devil's work," and all this. Like, boredom was always seen as a very negative thing, was always portrayed as a negative thing, and also as well. When I grew up, I was always told, "Oh, if you're ever bored, it's because you're a boring person." I don't know if any of you've heard that, but some people will be like, "Yeah, if you're bored, it means you're boring. You should never be bored. You should always be able to entertain yourself." So I feel like boredom has always had like a bad stigma, and so I just wanted to talk about boredom and about the pros and cons because I do believe that there is a good side to boredom. I also want to talk about daydreaming. I daydream a lot, and what I've noticed is that I daydream a lot more when I'm not on my phone. I daydream a lot more like, that in between stage before you're about to fall asleep where your mind is running, but it's just running on background mode. So kind of daydreaming unintentionally. Yeah, I like to daydream. I enjoy daydreaming. So that's what my videos are about. Um, Also, as well, some people say that I look sleepy. Like when people first meet me, they think I'm tired, and I'm not. It's just the way my eyes are. My eyes are quite droopy, but that's just how my eyes are. And maybe it's obviously it's genetics, but I think it's also because I do daydream a lot, and I love it. Um, Hello, Ank underscore Sajwan, and hello to KWLS C38. I need to go to Specsavers. Okay, so I also want to talk about imagination because I feel like imagination is heavily connected with boredom and daydreaming. That's just my opinion. So recently, I think there's been less boredom because of smartphones. I feel like because we can all just go on our phones and we can scroll on our phones, I feel like there's less boredom. I feel like there's less daydreaming because we can just go on our phones. But I'm so sorry about the hair and the hair. It's a wig, Tiger Tony. It is a wig. I mean, I can tell you're not a true supporter because all my true supporters know I constantly wear wigs. But anyway, I will not be distracted. Yeah, so I feel like because of smartphones and stuff, um, we're always like we're not really bored. Our minds are always preoccupied and stuff, and which is a bad thing. However, we can thank you for liking the live. I really appreciate it. However, what I found, I don't know if anyone else has found the same, but we can be on our phones and be bored at the same time. So the phones are becoming less of a novelty. So now we can actually be on our phones and still be bored, which is an interesting development. Thank you for liking the live. Also, as well, in regards to boredom, I just want to go through the pros of being bored. One of the pros of being bored for some people is that it can spark creativity. So some people, I can't explain it, but sometimes you feel like you're not even thinking about one of your problems. You feel like you're not even thinking about one of your dilemmas. You might just be bored one day. You're not even thinking about trying to find a solution, and all of a sudden you find a solution. Like, it's kind of like, because you're bored, your mind starts running on things, and somehow you just find a solution. You know, I found that, to be honest, like my mind, it's kind of like it's kind of like you put your mind on autopilot, but somehow being able to just like take the reins off your mind just finds solutions to things that you probably couldn't deliberately find. Well, I find that anyway. So I find that boredom can spark creativity. Um, Also, I find that boredom can um, turn you into a problem solver. An example is that sometimes giving children, like, I don't have children, but sometimes giving children toys and stuff can sometimes quell their creativity. And obviously, toys are good, but I know some private schools, they like to not necessarily give children toys, but give children like problems, and leave the children to just, you know, free fall and problem solve. You know, what happened to haberdasheries? I don't know. I don't even know what that is. But yeah, so I know for a fact from firsthand like experience, not from me going to a private school, but anyway, so in some private schools, some really good ones, they allow children to problem solve, yeah, and they also allow children during play to create their own play space, and it's because they want them to become problem solvers. They want them to use their initiative. They want them to be proactive. So boredom can sometimes trigger problem solving, is what I'm saying. It's not good to always like it's not always good to spoon feed people. Sometimes you do have to leave something to the imagination. Another pro of being bored is that it can lead you to assess where you are in life. So thank you for liking the live. But yeah, so another thing about being bored is that it can lead you to assess your position in life. So that might be at work, or that might be in a relationship, or that just might be anything. But the good thing about it is that it can lead you to reassess your position. So in some of these cases where people are always bored at work, they may feel like, you know, they need to change their career, or they may decide that they want to study, or they may decide that they need they want to work towards an appraisal. So boredom can sometimes trigger those things. So the pros of being bored, number one, is that it can problem solve, without realizing, while your mind is on autopilot, you might start thinking of solutions to dilemmas that you have. Number two, it can spark creativity. Yeah. It can spark creativity, you know, and it may not necessarily be creativity in the like arts, such as music and writing and singing and choreography, and it may even be a solution to a science question, or to a math formula, or however you say it. So it can spark creativity. And also, thirdly, it can also inspire you to reconsider your position, whether that be in study, or that be at work, or relationship, or anything else to do with your life. Boredom can actually trigger an evaluation. Yeah. Okay. So those are the pros and cons of being bored. I mean, I don't agree with that saying. People be like, "Oh, if you're bored, you're a boring person." I don't. I mean, I understand what they mean in that you can always find something to do, or you can always find something to think about, or you can be proactive and create your own fun. But hey, could have put a question here. Please, the wig is not becoming. It is distracting. Now that's enough, sir. You can that now that's enough, sir. Um. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about the. Now I'm going to talk about the. You've put me off with your insult. You've absolutely put me off with that insult. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the cons of being bored, like the negative, the unhealthy side of being bored. Okay, number one, it can create an unhealthy habit. And so some people, they might say that they might say, they might end up making questionable decisions, or they might end up doing questionable things, and they might be like, and people might ask them, "Oh, why did you do this? Why did you do that?" And they might actually say, "Oh, I was bored. I had nothing to do. Oh, I was looking for something to do. Oh, there's never anything to do where I live." And so sometimes being bored can lead to questionable decisions. Some people say that for some young people, not having anything to do, not having anywhere to go, has can lead to criminal behavior, destructive behavior, vandalism, etc. So, you know, there's that in being bored. It can promote destructive behavior, unhealthy behavior anyway. Also, as well, being bored can cause unhealthy behavior such as overeating, maybe gambling, um, and just, yeah, gossiping, I guess. So, being bored can, what? So, being bored can sometimes trigger negativity. That's one of the cons. The other con is being bored can lower productivity. So say if you're bored at work or somewhere. Oh my god, I'm your fan. So say if you're bored somewhere, and these comments are ridiculous. At least be a bit more creative. Yeah. So say if you're bored at work, or say if you're bored at school, it can lower productivity. So Um, it can actually distract from what you're doing, and it can actually. Okay, I'll give you an example. Like at work, in the afternoon, I feel like I do less work than I do in the morning. Not deliberately, but just I'm just not at my best. I'm just not at my peak. So I feel like being bored can sometimes can impact your performance, um, which can be your work performance, your school performance, your studying performance. Yeah, so in that sense, yeah, I feel like boredom can be negative. Boredom can also trigger anxiety or negative feelings. So some people, when they're bored, they might they might start thinking of like past regrets, or um, you know, financial worries, or they might start reliving embarrassing moments. So I feel like boredom can also do those things. Yes, I am married. Okay, so yeah, daydreaming. So I'm just looking at my notes. I want to talk about daydreaming. Um, I feel sometimes I will deliberately leave, like not go on my phone, because I want that place of daydreaming and stuff. Um, I feel like I feel like I feel like people don't daydream as much as they used to. Yeah, I feel like people don't daydream as much as they used to. I don't know if yeah, people don't daydream as much as they used to, and there are pros and cons to daydreaming as well, which I'm going to go through. So I'll just read out the definition of daydreaming for those of you guys. You know, daydream is kind of like when somebody oh, thank you, that's a really nice comment, from one extreme to the other. Yeah, so daydreaming is kind of like when you kind of like just check out and you're physically present but your mind is just gone away. So daydreaming is like when your mind is just somewhere else but you're physically in that place. Please remember to like the live, I really appreciate it. So daydreaming is a natural mental state where your mind drifts away from the immediate task. So say if now I'm doing a live and I start daydreaming, like earlier on there was some like rude comments about the way I look, and I started daydreaming. I started thinking to myself, what should I say? Shall I remove them from the chat? And you could probably see that I started getting distracted. So yeah. Oh, really nice comments. Thank you. Um, a dream to you, a reality to my partner. Okay, so one of the one of the pros of daydreaming, like honestly, sometimes you guys should try it. Like sometimes I will deliberately not go in my phone and just daydream, and if and it's like you're cleansing your palate. You know, like some people when they're eating out, they'll eat different things and then they'll have something to like clear their palate. So they'll have some, you know, bread or I don't know, lemon or just something bland just to cleanse their palate before they continue eating. I feel like sometimes daydreaming, I feel mentally cleanses our mental palate, if you know what I mean. I feel like sometimes we can be over simulate, stimul, stimulated, and sometimes we just need to like reset. So I think that's what a daydream can do. Um, okay, so daydreaming, like I said before, sometimes like you might have some dilemmas, or you might have some pending issues, and your mind, like you've been putting your mind all the way around it but you're not able to find a solution. And I feel like sometimes when you're daydreaming, just something just completely unrelated, sometimes you just get a solution. I can't explain it. I think there's a word for it, but sometimes you've got like something complex in your mind that 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 you can't resolve mentally, sometimes there might be a situation in your mind that is very complex to you, and then one day you might be doing something totally different, and then the solution just comes out of nowhere. Like the solution just comes out of nowhere, and then you're like, bingo, that's what I'm gonna do. Or you're like, bingo, that's what I'm gonna say. Like, I don't know if that happens with you guys much, but yeah, sometimes things just come to me when I'm not even thinking about that situation. I love it when that happens, but I feel like you can't really engineer it, or I feel like you can't engineer it. Sometimes you just need to have an open mind to different thoughts. But anyway, boost creative thinking. Um, Also, as well, I feel like when you daydream, sometimes you'll be rehearsing stuff in your mind. So I feel like sometimes you'll be thinking, oh, if this person says this, I'm gonna say this. Oh, if I ever have a job interview, this is what I'm gonna say. Or, oh, if I meet this person, if I meet that person, I'm gonna ask them, why did they say this? I'm gonna ask them, but where did they go? So I feel like daydreaming is a way to kind of rehearse ideal situations, or how am I gonna respond, or what am I gonna say in this. And so I feel daydreaming is like that as well. Daydreaming, I feel like, can sometimes also help you make long term plans, you know, when things just come to you like that. And I think daydreaming can also reduce stress levels. Hello. Hi, Brit97. Hi, Brit97. Yeah, I feel like daydreaming can also resolve stress levels because, say, if you've got a holiday planned and you're at work or you're somewhere where you're not having the best time of your life, and then you just start daydreaming about the holiday, what you're gonna pack, what you're gonna wear, what you're gonna do there, how you're gonna feel, what the weather's gonna be like. So daydreaming can be a coping mechanism as well, especially if you've got something to look forward to, and thinking about it lowers your stress levels. So those are the pros of a daydreaming. Bonjour, bonjour, because it's evening now. Bonjour, hola, ¿cómo está? Um, ¿Cómo? ¿Ça va? Um, okay, so now for the negative side of a daydreaming. The negative side of daydreaming is that it can be a hazard. Like it can be, like say if you're doing something, say if you're doing something, say if you've got a task at hand. Say if you're working on a construction site and you're controlling a forklift, and you're daydreaming, that's potentially very dangerous, clearly, because you're supposed to be concentrating. Or say if you're cooking, or say if you're doing anything, or you're cycling, or even if you're driving and you start daydreaming, that could be, you know, c- completely. That is so dangerous. Basically, you're supposed to be concentrating when you're doing those things. So daydreaming can disrupt immediate focus and put you or somebody else at risk. In the examples I just gave, such as working machinery, maybe you're a barber, you know, using using a razor, cooking on a hot stove, cycling, driving. There's times when daydreaming is can ultimately be detrimental, and it has no place in those types of um, scenarios I just mentioned. Um, Also, as well, say if you're revising or you're studying, you've got an exam coming up and you're supposed to be studying and you're just daydreaming. Clearly, there's no data retention. I'm sure lots of you have been in this same situation, but when sometimes you'll be reading something, reading a book, and then you'll be like 5 pages in and you're like, what did I just read? You know, I think we've all, yeah, like say if you're reading a book and yeah, after a while you're thinking, wait, what did I just read? The last 2 pages, I was daydreaming. Or if you're in a meeting at work and you're daydreaming and you've just got like in your mind, you've got a whole 5 minutes of not remembering what anybody was saying. Yeah, so because it can interrupt your task at hand, it can be detrimental, um, and it can compromise physical safety. Um, Also, as well, daydreaming can be it can be a negative thing depending on what you're daydreaming about. Because if you are daydreaming about something negative that happened to you before, that can that can lower your mood, it can lower your self esteem. You know, if you're just there contemplating over something negative that happened and you're daydreaming about it, it can actually um, just damage your well being, I would say. Um, or, you know, like some people, you might even get the. I've done this before. Say if you're daydreaming and you're thinking about what somebody has said to you, or what somebody has done, or what they haven't done, and in your own imagination, you can just blow it completely out of proportion, and that can have real world consequences. So, say if I'm just daydreaming about what somebody said to me, and I'm daydreaming, then after a while, I've been overthinking, and then now I'm just in a really um, I'm in a place of conflict with that person because I just sat back and I just daydreamed about everything they said. Mm. Hi, Julie Stepman. Also, as well, daydreaming can become an unhealthy coping mechanism because it's like you're just checking out of the real world and you're not facing up to your daily responsibilities and commitments. So, just by checking out and daydreaming, we're not actually facing our responsibilities. So, those are the cons of a daydreaming. But yeah, like I said, I get really good ideas and solutions when I am daydreaming, and I believe as well, where possible, we should just try and empty our mind and have thoughts come to us, have solutions come to us. Like we're doing, um, we're doing some building in Ghana, and I we one of the things that I really wanted was outside, like an outside staircase, and um, I've requested that. Now we've got an outside staircase, and now I'm thinking we want lights on it on the outside staircase. And the really good thing is that it's near one of our trees, and so hopefully as the tree gets bigger and bigger, and the stairs are decorated and lit up, it will be a nice place to take pictures and stuff because the tree's right next to it. But with the idea of the outdoor staircase, it just came to us. We didn't plan to do that. It just came to us. The idea just came to us. It just came out. It just popped into my mind. And so that's what I mean. Sometimes we just need to cleanse our minds and just be open to creative ideas and thoughts and solutions. That's all I got. Thank you for joining the live. I really appreciate it. Um, I'd like to give a definition of imagination because I feel like imagination is entwined with boredom, and I also believe it's entwined with daydreaming. I'm sorry, but I think daydreaming and boredom are are hubs hubs for the imagination, in my opinion. And also, like I said, sometimes I do leave my phone. Um, I do take my, I do take my, I do like take, I do restrain from using my phone in order so that I can use my imagination. Okay, so let me just get the definition of imagination. Imagination, because I do feel like they're closely linked. Imagination. Sorry. Imagination and meaning. Imagination is the cognitive ability to create, simulate, and manipulate mental images, sensations, and ideas without immediate input from the physical senses. It allows humans to envision possibilities beyond the present, recall and alter past experiences, and construct entirely new concepts, which is foundational to learning, empathy, and problem solving. Okay, so that's imagination. I believe everybody has an imagination. I think sometimes we can quench our imaginations. Um, like I've already said quite a few times now, I feel like I do quench my imagination because of the amount of time I spent on my phone. I feel like I could express myself creatively, creatively, wait, creatively, creatively, creatively. But yeah, I do feel like I can express myself that way. But there's a lot of procrastination and a lot of other things that need to be dealt with first. So what I will say to you is, bored. If you are ever bored, just embrace it. Because it can be a source of problem solving. It can be a source of creativity. It can help you to evaluate your life and daydreaming. Yeah, continue to daydream. However, if you're in a place of vulnerability, such as maybe you're driving, you're at work, or you're in an interview, do not daydream. There's a time and a place, but it's just a good mental. It's just a good. If you have goals, say if you have some goals, you can daydream and consider what it will be like once you hit those goals. In regards to daydreaming, don't always use it as a coping mechanism or as a way to check out of real life commitments because it will catch up to you. So that's all I have for my live. Thank you for liking the live. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for all those who made comments about my wig. I like it. I like the color, I like the texture, I like the style. So it's here to stay. Okay? Have a great weekend. You'll see me again tomorrow. I'm doing a live on go karting in Ghana. So I'm still doing my research. I'm still getting um, my things together for tomorrow's live. But that'll be on go karting in Ghana 2026. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining the live. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and to like. Thank you. Bye.